reminder.
I should have called, yeah, I should have called my hair.
Yeah.
Hey, once the light is on, it is.
Alright.
Well, I came around the wrong side.
Yeah,
Well, you're supposed to sit right here. You
Full
charge.
musical chairs on you. Yeah.
Here it comes.
Darren coming?
He emailed me earlier today that he was trying to look at the agenda on Word doc, so I assume he is.
One more. I think so. You're not voting, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have one more. Do
As
it
long as
again,
he-
so
Here comes there.
Yeah.
You can't say it.
Kim's not coming.
There we go.
Right?
That settles that.
Yeah.
Think of them apples.
Think we should start?
Sure.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. All right. Are there any additions to the agenda? No additions? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we gotta have a we'll open up for a public hearing for the City of Lennox Comprehensive Plan.
I'll get the slideshow up on the screen here.
Okay, so I just created a little slideshow to kind of go over the basics of what we kind of found and discussed in the comprehensive plan. And as you guys all know, we've been meeting over the course of a few months to get through a new comprehensive plan draft. And the comprehensive plan has a number of goals associated, or purposes associated with it. Nate, can you next slide? Thank you. So it has three primary purposes, which are to address the planning requirements of state law. There is a citation of state law in there that is required to support your zoning. It helps provide some predictability about potential land uses. As Nate was telling me earlier, your new housing study and projections show that you could grow up to 15% in the next 5 years, which is what you said, which is 3% a year, which is big. So, you know, you're gonna grow, your city limits are gonna have to grow essentially to fit those people. And this plan is here to make that a little bit more predictable so people kind of know what's coming, what might be out there. And then to provide the city with policies for future planning decisions. We had a nice discussion about the goals of where the city wants to be and maybe some ideas of how to get there. Change slide. As part of the planning process of this, we did create a community vision statement. I think it kind of covers what the city wants to be and become over the next 20 years and beyond. So the city wants to be a place where residents are able to take pride in the attractive, responsible design of the city through all stages of life. Underneath that, we have 5 different kind of bullet points, specifying different areas that the committee thought was important to the growth of the city. So, next. Next, I just wanted to do a very general overview of some different interesting findings. As you can see, through time, your population has steadily, or pretty steadily, increased through 2010. Next. And this was something we found interesting. Again, your total population increased. However, some interesting things to note. The next slide. Okay. We had great results in basically your 0 to 54. You had a lot of increase in those areas. However, next slide, something we noticed and kind of took a little bit of, or gave us a little bit of concern was the almost 50% drop between those years in that 75 over, which made us feel that we weren't supporting aging in place. We weren't supporting that older population to be able to stay not necessarily in their current home as a house, but stay in their community and the community they have built. And then projecting forward, our projections forward were a bit more staid than what your housing study had in there, but they used different data sources and some different things to get them to their numbers. Our number still shows steady growth through the planning period. Next. I think this is the last slide, and this just brings us to two pretty important maps in your comp plan. One is the future land use map, which we have printed out large in here. It's also in your packet. And then the other is the growth areas map, which just delineates what these letters mean kind of on here. Excuse me. So with that, I guess I kind of open up the floor to any discussion, questions, if anybody's here to actually make comment on this, if staff want to make comment on it.
I think basically I'm pretty pleased with the overall product that we have here and the conclusions that we're coming from it. We're poised for growth. We need to have a plan for our growth. And I think to have that be consistently applied is going to be important. Otherwise you end up with some situations you don't like. I think in looking at the surrounding communities, I think this is a good plan. I'm very pleased with all the participation from the community and the members that are here and putting this plan together. And with your help, doing a very good plan that I think really reflects where we want to go.
Couldn't really say it better myself. I think in terms of when Kristen and I first visited, getting this thing moving over the past several months has really worked well.
far better than I imagined it would have. Had a lot of great input from both the task force, but also members of the community. I think the most difficult part of this isn't necessarily the writing and revising and getting all that right. It's how we apply it in the future years. I think it's easy for people to forget that a comprehensive plan is a policy document. I mean, it is how we, as a community, want our community to grow, how we want the land to be used, how we want zoning to progress. And we do have to make policy decisions based on this document. So carrying that forward, I think, is even the bigger lift in terms of making sure that we're applying everything to the decisions we have to make as a body.
And then something before I forget, this may be mentioned at the end, but I want to enter it in there. In chapter 5, in the schools section, it has been requested by the Chiconaway Superintendent School District that when you make your recommendation up to city council, that your recommendation includes a stipulation that we edit the school district information to reflect the new 2019 student numbers. They were just made official, I believe, today. So obviously we couldn't get them in this document in time. But he's asking that what you recommend forward includes the numbers for this year, just for what the city council will eventually approve. So, like I said, that'll come. We need to have that written down, hopefully, to include in the recommendation forward.
Any other questions?
Questions, comments, concerns?
Any
I like it.
Probably pretty good.
Good work. Okay. Is that all for that?
Yep.
Well, you have to officially close.
Yeah, we'll officially close the hearing, and then under new business, we'll actually take the action to recommend approval to the city council with the additional information from the school district. So at this point, we just need to close the public hearing.
Great. Okay, and you're fine going through,
Motion to
You need,
adjourn.
do I need a
look
motion?
that up?
You don't need a motion. Chairman can simply declare
Oh,
it.
this-
Nate,
There you go.
I'll leave this here for you, and
Okay.
I'll just get my board back from you.
Perfect.
So-
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yes,
it.
have a good night.
Very helpful.
Okay. Now we're up to visitors to be heard.
Is that guidelines, are we setting new guidelines for visitors to be heard, or what's that?
No, that's how it shows up on the agenda. It's guidelines, it's just public comment.
Okay.
Okay, no visitors. Minutes of the August 22nd, 2019 regular meeting. We need a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now we have a building inspector report by Tim Odlin.
Yeah, I've got, the school project is to the point where they're beyond foundation, walls are going up, so that's, masonry as well as, steel stud. The pool, that's progressing, hopefully keep going before it gets snow in it, but, and we do have, officially a new chiropractic clinic coming to town by Ace over there in one of those. So that, who knows if that spurs growth for the other 2 units, but at least we got a permit on that, and that's been one I've been visiting with the people for probably a month and a half on, but they decided to get started on that. We have another house that's been rehabilitated over at 812 West 2nd. A guy that has an engineering firm came in and it was a nice enough house on the outside, but it had been kind of trashed inside, and he got that all looking good, and then or a family from Chancellor about that, so we can maybe up our numbers before Kristen, no. To add one more. But anyway, so that's a positive, so new business, new home, and then, there's gonna be 2 more mobile homes leaving Park Drive, real soon, so that's a plus, and the blight that's been over there has been dealt with legally, and so they can move forward on that. And we're still having a couple issues with people that like to start projects without permits, but we're official, the new ordinance is there, okay,
So
so.
I'm gonna check back on what the effective date was, there's a 20-day waiting period before effective
Okay,
date.
all right, well, anyway, we, had to visit with somebody about that today, so. I don't know if you guys have any questions, or I hate to ask concerns.
When are they gonna start moving dirt north of town?
That's the water is off.
Yeah, the land has been purchased, my understanding, by the one developer. So it'll probably be, next, I would say very early next spring before permitting is totally wrapped up. Pretty likely that, so it's all been platted previously. He's going to want to replat all of that, put in his replat utility plan. So I imagine over the next several months, we'll be working very closely with him at putting together those plans.
Believe we plant that all at once?
It's possible.
Nielsen, Kelly Nielsen?
Correct.
Well, with the TIF that he is applying for, he won't have to pay taxes on it till it's developed. Is that the deal?
He'll have to pay whatever taxes are currently due on it.
As agriculture or as?
Until it's rezoned, it'll be as agriculture.
Okay, once he rezones it, then it'll all go to,
When does
Residential.
the TIF start?
We're hoping the county has it next month. We're checking in with the planning and zoning office there, has to consider it first, and then recommend its passage on to the county commission. So it wasn't, I doubt it was early enough to the planning and zoning office for the September agenda on the, I can't remember what date it was. But we're hoping to get it on there next month and start wrapping that up. So with how the taxing works, once that land starts having a new assessed value, once the valuation increases, that difference between the original assessed value and the new assessed value, that's the increment that pays towards the debt on the TIF.
I know when they did the meadows and they plotted it all, remember that, Tim? And they wanted to take it back out and put it into ag, so they didn't get, didn't have to pay so much tax on it.
And that's possible. There's a rough idea of where he wants to go with the zoning on it at this point. But for the most part, the understanding I'm getting is that we'll have houses being built throughout the development. So most of it will be developed out next summer, which in my mind means he's gonna have to have it platted out ahead of time, so. I get about a call every week from someone asking where they can buy a lot, so.
Well, that's
Hopefully it's good news. September 30th is the effective date on the ordinance,
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
So that's Monday, isn't it?
Yes.
You better talk to them people quick.
Well, I did the one today.
Okay.
I talked to him too.
Okay, all right. They did come in.
Okay. Is that all you have, Tim?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have that Anderson plat request.
They're keeping us on the agenda just to make sure that we keep visiting it. Mr. Anderson is here tonight. I'm sure you can answer any questions about where things are at right now. Some of you may have noticed that there is a zoning change request on the property, so we'll have that public hearing next month. You'll recall at the last meeting, we authorized, the commission authorized assessing the daily zoning violation fine if progress wasn't, some evidence of progress wasn't made by the following Tuesday or the holiday weekend. Mr. Anderson has been in contact with me, I would say, multiple times a week, probably twice at least, every week since then. And has been making progress at finding some solution. This week received the zoning change application. That would be his proposed solution for the time being. So I don't know if the commission has any questions for Mr. Anderson or not, or if he has additional information to offer up. But
Well, his zoning change is from residential to,
that'll be from R3 manufactured home to central business.
and he meets all the standards of that.
There's no ordinance that would preclude that property from being central business. With the comprehensive plan, of course, we need to follow guidance in that. And so we have to look at whether that's considered spot zoning or not. It is, going to progressively getting to a more dense zoning. So, if you think of less dense R1 to R2 to R3 to commercial and then to industrial, it does fit within those confines, though it is surrounded by residential, the lot itself is. So that is a difficulty that we'll have to consider, that the commission will have to consider next month at the public hearing. I would note that across the railroad tracks, we move into light industrial and then back to central business again when we get towards Main Street. So, and I can certainly send out the zoning map and give everybody a good shot of what it looks like right now. I can probably just pull it up if you want.
The requirements of central business are for more retail, or do you have that definition?
Yeah, it's not, in order to do what, in order to make it compliant under central business, there would still have to be a conditional use permit for accessory buildings.
Okay.
So it isn't allowed use under a conditional use permit. It's not under others, so.
And then what will the business, or what will it be considered if it's in central business? Your construction company business, or, okay,
Will he have to have meet all the obligations like wheelchair accessibility and bathrooms and?
yeah, because central business can, it's the same one we ran into with
Lanny?
Plimpton's wanting that shop, was that it could be sold if another business bought it a year from now, then it has to be set up like Main Street here, or which is the central business area, and where it just has to have, and so is it a slab on grade kind of thing?
It's got its foundation.
Oh, it does, frost springs, okay. So then plumbing could be brought to it or something?
Plumbing's in it,
Okay,
so
all right, great,
it's roughed in and everything, so.
okay.
That didn't do what I wanted it to do. So the lots that you're seeing here, this is the most recent zoning that we have. We need to update this. So 7 and 8 that you see there, lots 7 and 8 on the mobile home court.
Okay.
I'll move that over just a little bit more here. So right here, 7 7 and 8. On the west edge of that would be considered where this lot is. So on the north side, they're going to have an R2 zone. East, west, and south, you'll have R3 zone. And obviously to the south, you'll have light industrial, and then leading back into central business. So again, this isn't something that we necessarily have in front of us tonight. I think it's good for discussion to have Mr. Anderson here and give him some idea of what requirements, building-wise, we'll have in those areas. But also, you know, time to ask questions for the commission.
So your plan is to go with this rezoning to comply with what we're asking you to do to? Do you have a plan B if this rezoning doesn't go out? What is your other plans?
Pardon?
What is your other plan B if this doesn't go through?
Well, the other options I had since, I recommended this,
Mr. Aaron, can I ask you to step up to the podium, please? Thank you.
I recommended this a few times before, I was trying to, at a lot of different avenues to be in compliance with whatever you guys want me to do, just so I can keep it there. One of them was to turn the upstairs, the upper part of it into an apartment complex. Is an option. So I don't know if I could do that, zone it as R1 residential or R2, whatever it is. And keep the lower part as my shop.
Before, it never met the setbacks and stuff, until we changed them.
Yeah, the major thing was the setbacks and the frontage, but now that it's been changed to
It
square
does meet
footage
that,
and,
right?
right, because I got 50 feet now. And it's less than 8,000 square feet.
Are your setbacks okay?
Yeah.
How do we get around the spot zone?
That's one we don't get around.
That's something that's gonna have to be on for the commission to decide if that's something that they're okay with or not.
Because the eightplex is an R1 multifamily, right?
R2.
R2, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So to keep it this, you can't keep it the same because it's not a multifamily. So what is a single? Is it an R1?
R1. But I don't think you're good. A building, an accessory building under R1 would not be even a conditional use.
Okay.
Not of this size, I don't think at least.
It's too big then, is what you're saying?
It can be a standalone
But if I was
structure.
right, but if I was to turn it into a dwelling, I could very easily do
See,
that.
Yeah, I'd have to look back at it.
Living quarters, your garage can't be bigger than your living quarters, correct?
Well, it would be smaller, but the upstairs and the lower part would be bigger.
Yeah.
Because the garage is only 24 feet.
So you would put some upstairs and some down
Right.
to comply with the
Then what do you have? Do you have 7 feet either side?
5.
I got 17 on the east side, and I got 5 on the west.
Okay. Because we gotta have 7 and 7, or, so that encroaches a little. Yeah, I'll make another one, but,
R2 would fit under the new side yard. And R3, obviously, would fit that as well.
what's it got for sidewalls? Are they 2 by 6?
2 by 6.
Okay.
Water, sewer hookups are all that,
Yep, it's all roughed in.
okay? Has all that been inspected by the,
That was inspected back in 12.
okay? The map isn't showing very clearly, but this is, and keep in mind, when you're looking at this map, the Lincoln County map, those purple lines are very rough. They are not necessarily where the property line is, so. You certainly got plenty rear yard
Check it out, it's 150 feet deep.
Yeah.
That where the J is at, that's Gene's house, right?
Right.
Phil?
Yep. There we go. We've had difficult internet connection all day, so. So again, keep in mind, that purple line is not necessarily where the property line is, but,
It's pretty close though.
okay.
That's where the fence line is at anyway.
Okay.
With the new R, it almost meets the R2 then?
If it's 5 feet, it's gonna meet R2, the side yard.
Which is,
5. Yep, multi-family.
But you don't necessarily have to have two families, do you?
For multifamily?
Yeah. You have to have it become,
The other question I got for you is, if this goes through and I hit everything that you guys need me to hit, is there any way that I could add on to that on the 17-foot side? The length of the building?
To the,
To the
east?
east.
To the east, yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're within
within
the
the
setbacks.
setbacks of the side yard.
Okay. Which is 3, right? Because that's what I got on the west side?
5.
You said
Five,
five.
yeah.
You got a 5.
Okay.
You got 5 on the
I got
west?
5 on the west side.
and this is for which zoning? This is for R2?
The zoning change was to R, is from R3, manufactured home, to central business.
Right. But I mean,
If
if you're gonna add on, you
For
talk
R2.
central business, you could add on for the central business, or add on if it gets turned into R2.
Technically both. Whatever I can
Do they both meet that setback? Either one
Yeah,
meets the same
central
setback?
business is real, like you can go right up to the line.
Yep.
Like this building is connected to the next.
But you need to have firewall protection.
Firewall
Yeah.
protection.
5/8 rock on the outside.
More, yeah.
So in R2, your permitted uses are multifamily dwellings of 3 or more, single-family detached dwelling, or single-family attached dwelling. So if a single-family home would be an allowable use in R2.
Yeah.
I think you're still going to bump up against the primary use of the building. And that's something that the commission has to consider, is what is the primary purpose of the building. If the square footage of the, let's call it the business side of the building, the first floor, is larger than the residential side, the second floor, well then, one would reasonably assume that the primary use is not residence, but is commercial.
Yeah. So if this is
I-
R,
see, I
if
can
this
choose-
is R2, can you build it as a home and sell it and put your business someplace else? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
I mean, the whole thing is not even finished on the inside, so the square footage I'm not worried about. I can make it fit to whatever I need to make it fit for you guys. So it's, right now it's just roughly one big giant building.
Yeah.
So I can
So
throw
what size was it, 1,500 or?
1,500, yeah, it's 30 by 50.
Yeah.
So I can throw the walls up to meet whatever you guys need me to meet.
You can also be a church, a library, and a school.
Oh, yeah. We know it ain't gonna be a school.
Just throwing it out there.
I can tell you right now, though, I'm gonna have a difficult time voting to put, central business right next to somebody's house. That's gonna be a problem.
That's a tough one.
Even if the neighbors don't care?
You sell that house, they sell their house, or you sell that business to somebody and somebody else can, I don't care if you keep it up perfect while you're there. You can sell it to somebody and they can come in and turn it into
Right,
whatever they want.
right.
And then all those neighbors are stuck with that.
We were just going through this comprehensive plan, and we were just talking about what he's talking about, looking at the future and the growth for it and how to make it.
I might be on this board for 2 more years, I'm not gonna let a decision like that I make to let you do that, wreck a neighborhood for,
Well, I definitely ain't gonna wreck a neighborhood, that's for sure. I think
well, we're trying to improve that neighborhood,
Well, I think
you know what I mean?
right, I think I'm doing that now.
The long, yeah, I think, if I.
I would vote
if I'm
for
hearing
an
Mr.
R2, turning it, I would vote for turning it into a dwelling long before I vote for turning it into central business.
I
So,
hate to say it, but I might too. If he meets R2, I would rather see that than.
As long as the
central
setbacks
business.
and.
Why
and
don't
this is
all
one
of
of
it?
the, this is,
Everything, it meets everything,
right, this is,
I got no problem.
I got an 18-foot garage door in the front. I could very easily just turn that into a one stall, shorten that frame up, put a smaller garage door opener in there and turn it into a dwelling.
I don't think.
With
you
no
have to
business.
even do that.
Right.
Yeah,
I
it can
think
be 18.
the way it's set up now, I think you got a lot of different ways you could turn that into a dwelling.
What's, like I said, I'm flexible, I'll do anything, so it's to the point where
I think
if
what
I
I,
were one,
I think what I'd like to suggest is that I look at, R2 possibilities with, Mr. Anderson, and I'll probably ask CCOG to put their 2 cents in as well. Just so they can see kind of, open our eyes a little bit more to what the possibilities are there, what the risks and benefits might be. So we can certainly talk next week and try and walk through some of that, and go through the regulations for that district.
Will that, for the meeting next month, are we setting ourselves up for failure then by continuing to advertise it as central business?
If the application were to change, then we can change the way it's posted.
And still have the hearing, okay.
Yeah, at this point, we're still posted for a hearing. I mean, we're posting 3 weeks before we need to. So we've got plenty of time to make any changes for that.
because I'm definitely downsizing, I'm not, I'm a one-man shop type of thing, so I don't need that shop to be that big.
Sure.
So it's like,
Well, if it gets rezoned to some kind of residential, there's a business schedule somewhere else, right?
right, well, it's not like basically my business is
It's more
my
mobile.
truck, I don't have, like, I'm
It's
selling
not a
everything.
walk-in business.
Right, it's one of those things, I'm selling damn everything I got anyway, it's just the stuff that I got in my van, and that's my shop, my van, so.
I think that's the avenue you need to pursue myself.
Good. I can do that.
Well, let's talk next week and we'll see what we can find out.
I think that sounds a lot better than spot zoning.
Now, the other question I got then is if that is the case, the only reason I wanna add on to it, if I can at all possible, is for my camper.
Oh, sure.
Park that thing inside, that's the only reason I wanna add on to it.
And if it fits.
Yeah, as long as it, I think we'd have to look at the building code to have a firm yes or no on something.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
can't
gotta
pay
have
them tonight.
Plan to look at
We
it.
know what you're talking about.
Right.
Because, so if we had something on paper we could look at so that it doesn't get to be, hey, but you said I could do it, or,
Right.
well, wait a minute, we said you could add on, and we thought maybe it'd be a bedroom or something.
No.
So we would need to see that before we throw it in.
I could probably give it to them next week, so.
Well,
But the concept,
let me ask you this, if you have a garage up area over here, a certain square footage can be garage, correct?
Yep.
Of a structure,
yeah,
if you add on X amount of feet wide for the whole building,
That's another
You're-
750 square feet.
I don't know how you're gonna make that. I don't
Well,
know.
I can.
you gotta make it look like a house, so how
I
you
can
doing
do
that?
that, I can do that, that's not a problem. It's just
But you're
fancy
gonna,
trusses.
if you add on more garage, you're gonna be over the
Well,
allotted.
So right now it's 1,500 plus, it's 2250 right now, total. If I just take that 18-foot garage door, I only need room just to put my truck in. I can make it a single stall garage, the 24 feet deep by 10, 240 square feet. 240 plus 750, that's 1,000 square, it's still, well. I'm pushing-
How much space do you need to add on to the east? How many feet would we be looking at? You got
At
17
least
feet,
minimum 14.
and you've got 17 feet
Yes,
there.
sir.
Oh, that won't.
Yeah, and then you won't meet the setback.
Yeah,
Okay.
You gotta hit
'Cause
5
it's
feet.
all-
We gotta have 5 foot.
you
at
gotta
least.
find a place to put
Then it'd be
the camper.
12.
Yeah.
Well, you can
12, I can
you
fit
pour
it in.
concrete right up to the
Yes.
property line. You can pour a concrete pad right up to
You'd
the
be fine
property
with a
line.
pad there.
Right. Could I get away with no, I don't want to do that either. Can you have a
Lean?
detached quants type fabric.
There's no. I
It's
mean,
not
we're-
attached.
We gotta look at how far are you from the road, where is the road? Where is your property pins?
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things like that, so our interest maybe isn't in where you put your camper and all your gear, that's your deal.
Right.
But if you can make it look like a house, I'd say that's a huge success.
Okay.
Now you've got something that's marketable. You
Right.
can sell it and buy another house and put up exactly what you want. But it isn't our job to make everything fit hunky-dory with your possessions, but I think, yeah, the concept of R2 would at least be a possibility.
Right.
Yeah,
That-
I think
I
it's
think
worth,
that would be a good
stipulation.
avenue to go down, to at least see. Like they say, if you say you're done with Lennox tomorrow, it'd be a marketable
Right.
house.
Okay.
all right,
All right.
talk next week.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
I think he could do anything he wants in there, he don't have any walls put up yet. The side walls are just plywood and stuff. You know, you could sheetrock over that, or,
And like Joe was saying, to put a garage to your shop, that's too much. I mean, that's all,
Too much.
then it's
You're
just
making
joking.
a huge giant garage.
well, these, his camper's sitting there now,
Well,
you know?
you can have a camper sitting there, can't you? As long as
Yeah,
it's
I'm
sitting-
sure you can.
Is it supposed to sit on concrete or doesn't it have?
It's gotta be on your property, not on
It is
the right of
on
way.
property. But as long as it meets the criteria, you're gonna have to put windows in and stuff, correct?
Well, let's talk
He's
about.
gotta
gotta
meet,
have
he's gotta
fire.
meet all the building
Elevations,
codes.
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
He's gotta meet all the codes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a lot better than central business, myself.
Yes.
I don't know how you could vote for that, but.
It is better than what was there, you gotta admit that. Remember that?
Well, yeah, well, that was condemned in the old house.
We can turn it into a house.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. Now we get the approval of the Lennox comprehensive plan. Y'all have a draft if you wanna read it over quick enough.
Just leaf through it.
We've been working on this for quite some time.
There, the only substantial changes that you'll see in there from the last task force meeting is the addition of some new school information. And as Ms. Bennett mentioned, CCOG, the draft that'll be presented to the city council will be slightly different from this. So the motion that we make tonight has to be a motion to approve with the addition of new information from the school district. That's the only significant changes we'll see.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a roll call vote?
No, I don't think we have to.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That's it, boys.
Hey, we had 3 here, right?
You need this.
Tonight.
Does he need this sign for?
Oh, yeah, and then don't forget.
Do you need this sign?